What's up?
Okay, now playtime, right? You gonna be quiet?
Yes, I
Okay, thank you.
am. Bye
Like that. Sorry I didn't cover anything in the back or anything like that. Um, what I am posting this live stream about today is I've disappeared, and I'm sorry that I've disappeared. It's been kind of crazy, and you deserve to know what's been going on. So, to make a long story a little long, again, sorry about that. I have been going through some medical issues and still trying to find a good spot for my phone to set for live streaming. Um, these medical issues I've been going through have definitely not been fun. They have not left a good taste in my mouth for trying to deal with any type of diagnosis in the medical community. I'm just so exhausted all the time. I'm so fed up. And I did a write-up on it that I will share with you. What's wrong with the medical community? Tell me if you can find the sense in what's been going on here. Okay, I go to my doctor wanting to know what's going on with strange symptoms I've been having. Okay, increasing widespread pain, which has been going on for over 20 years. And extreme fatigue, also going on for 20 years. But both have gotten significantly worse, along with new and unexpected, very significant weight gain, as you can kind of tell. Even despite exercising and a proper diet, the weight just still is steadily packing on. Nobody knows why. There's also an issue where I get dizzy when I stand up, or when I tilt my head to look up like that, it hurts back here and I start getting dizzy. And if I keep looking up for too long, I'll pass out. Okay, so first the doctor thinks I might have MS or some undiagnosed autoimmune disease or a thyroid condition, so he orders blood tests and refers me to a neurologist. The thyroid comes back normal. Everything comes back normal in the blood work. My neurologist orders more detailed blood work. All of this comes back normal as well. And they order an MRI of my brain and my brainstem to check for MS lesions and Chiari malformation, neither of which I had. But they did tell me that I have a lot of the signs of something called Ehlers-Danlos type 3, which is the hypermobility type. Ehlers-Danlos is a connective tissue disorder. It's believed to be genetic in hypermobile types as well as the other types. There are genetic tests available for the other types, 6 of which there are, except for type 3, which is what they think is going on with me. So no genetic test available. And I look it up and it fits like a glove. Everything fits perfectly. But there's a lot of other things that need to be ruled out before you can do a definitive diagnosis of Ehlers-Danlos Hypermobile syndrome. And it's a genetic condition. I never knew anything about the entire side of my father's family. I don't know my birth father. I don't know his family. Nothing. Absolutely no information. I know very, very little about my mother's side. Very little. So the family history is like, that's out the window. It's not helpful at all because there's nothing there. Now, it could get tricky without the family history, but it is definitely not impossible. If it is hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. A diagnosis on my part could potentially save a lot of problems for my son and his kids down the line because he is exhibiting the same symptoms that I exhibited at his age for the hypermobility. And he is already getting lax joints and lots of clicking and popping when he's moving. And the hypermobility is pretty extreme. He, on the Biden score, which is a score that tests how hypermobile your joints are, um, he scores an 8 of 9, and I score a 9 of 9, which is required to score, I think, a 5 of 9 of someone my age. But it tests things like, can you do this and touch your thumb to your forearm easily? And yeah, I can. And bend your pinky back like that. I bend all my fingers back like that. And it's the same on both sides. And does this bend backwards at a 10-degree or greater line? Same with your knees, bending backwards at a 10-degree or greater line. And to stand flat-footed with your knees locked and place your hands flat on the ground in front of your feet. I can do it. It hurts. Everything hurts. It hurts to move. It hurts to do anything. But I can do it. And I can hold it for a significant time. My son can do everything except put his hands flat on the ground. He says it hurts his hamstrings. So a diagnosis for me, is very important because if the diagnosis for me fits, which it does, and I can find a doctor with the gonads to actually sign off on the diagnosis, then that is a lot of poking and prodding and testing and all kinds of crap my kid will never have to go through because he's got the familial link instead of having to go through all of this when he is older and he's about at the age where you would be testing for it anyway. All right, my first step was to rule out or in MS, lupus, and other possible problems because there's no genetic markers for hypermobile type of Ehlers-Danlos. Then it has to be a diagnosis of exclusion. If nothing else fits and you have this very specific criteria, then you get diagnosed with this particular disorder. So the MRI showed no MS lesions, so that was ruled out easily. Blood work showed no markers for autoimmune disease, so that's ruled out. It showed no problems with thyroid. It showed no problems with my folate or my B12 or anything else. Everything was perfect, okay? The MRI did show that I have a meningioma, which is a small tumor. It said it was a 10 millimeter by 8 millimeter by 10 millimeter, so think the size of maybe a pinto bean, I'm guessing. Growth, tumor-ish type growth that is attached to the meningeal tissue, which is the lining of your brain and spinal cord, that's the word. And also there is a sheet that pretty much splits your brain in half that separates your left and your right brain. And where mine is, it's tiny, tiny, and it's right at my left frontal cortex on that center sheet. So if it ever got big, needed to be removed, they would most likely be able to go up through my nose or in through my eye and just cut it out and remove it and be done with it. It's about 80% of the time they're benign. And according to my neurologist, it could also be like an abscess or a cyst or something that has grown right there because I am kind of prone to developing these funky soft tissue lumps. the best way to describe it. I don't know the medical term for it. But these soft tissue lumps. And it could also be one of those. And if it is, the odds are between imaging scans, it'll probably just go away. Um, but of course, I need to watch for symptoms of growth. So if I start having seizures or showing major signs of dementia beyond my normal brain fog and things like that, then I need to go back in for emergency imaging and possibly surgery. But she's not worried about it. My GP is not worried about it, so that kind of puts me at ease, and I'm not as worried about it. And it's tiny. It's not even big enough to actually cause any problems, much less anything as significant as what I have going on. So, despite me being uncomfortable about it and kind of stressing every now and then about possibly having a tumor growing right next to my brain, I have to agree with the specialists and the doctors that it's probably nothing to be worried about, and check it in a year. Be watchful for symptoms in the meantime. If anything pops up or imaging shows growth in a year, then it's time to worry. But that has nothing to do with what's actually going on with my body in relation to what I've been going to the doctor for. So, my neurologist did point out that Ehlers-Danlos Hypermobile syndrome did fit me very well, and they wanted to rule out these other conditions. So we start working on ruling out other conditions or checking to see if they are. And so my neurologist also wants to do a skin punch biopsy to check for small fiber neuropathy. And what that is, it's a die-off of the small fiber nerves in your body, which I do have a loss of sensation in parts of my body that would explain. It's not completely numb, but it's not as significant as the sensation is in other parts of my body. Like something really cold here feels completely different than something really cold here. So that is kind of typical of a small fiber neuropathy. Already did a nerve conductivity study, showed I have carpal tunnel, but nothing else significant. So the skin punch biopsy will compare nerves from a healthy area and nerves from an area that I don't have much feeling in to tell if the small fiber nerves are dying off, and that's what's causing the loss of sensation. But again, that can be something that goes alongside with Ehlers-Danlos Hypermobility syndrome. Is pretty common. It also goes along with other conditions. It's a symptom, not a true condition on its own. There's usually a reason for the small fiber neuropathy. So once you have the symptom diagnosed that yes, you have small fiber neuropathy, then you go and figure out why. And so I'm okay with the skin punch biopsy that needs to be done. Excuse me, I'm thirsty. So, at my neurologist, when I'm discussing all of this, I ask about Ehlers-Danlos Hypermobility type and what needs to be checked to determine if it is or not what's going on with me. My previous visit had been, we're testing to determine if anything else is responsible for what's going on with you, because if nothing else is, then we know for sure it's Ehlers-Danlos. And at this point, by the time I had my follow-up and I was talking to the doctor about it, I have read multiple scientific studies. I have been learning everything I can. I've been talking to people who have been diagnosed for years, who know a lot more about it. I've nearly memorized the Ehlers-Danlos Foundation website. I've read it so much. So I have been working hard on self-education. I don't like feeling like I don't know what I'm talking about, especially when it concerns something going on with my body and my health. And so I'm going to take the time and learn. That's what I've been doing. And I know I even have a copy of the diagnostic criteria that is provided to doctors. And it's pretty much a checklist. So you can just go through and yes, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and then look and say, okay, if 2 of 3 of these are yes, and if you have at least 5 of these, then you have a positive diagnosis. So I know exactly what you have to do for the diagnosis. Um, and I pass all of the criteria with flying colors. There's absolutely no question. Okay. The only question is whether or not they ruled out other conditions, which they did. So I asked the neurologist about it. And the neurologist tells me that I need to have a genetic test done for diagnosis, which I do not. Okay. The type 3 is the only type that genetic markers have not been identified for. There are 6 types. 5 types have genetic markers. Number 3 does not. It's believed to be genetic, and it's believed that there are genetic markers for it. If you are diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos Hypermobility type 3, then you can submit a genetic test pretty much voluntarily to go into the pool of genetic tests they have of patients who have this, so that they can compare and see if there is anything in common between the genetics of all of these people to find that genetic marker. But as of yet, there is no genetic marker. There's no genetic test that can say definitively yes or no. So she tells me I need to have a genetic test done for diagnosis, which I know is total BS, okay? This is just her way of telling me I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole. This is a rare disease, and it's confusing and it's complex, and I'm not going there. So, okay, I can't force a doctor to do something that they're not into, they're not comfortable with, so okay. She tells me to go to a rheumatologist for a genetic test. I call rheumatologist's offices the next day. I explain what's going on and that my neurologist had told me to see a rheumatologist for genetic testing. Every single office I talk to tells me that they don't do genetic testing for hypermobility, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, because there's no known test for it and I should call a geneticist. So, where I live is very rural, okay? I drive 45 minutes to go to the grocery store. I drive 45 minutes to get to my doctor's office. I drive an hour, at least, to get to a specialist. In addition to my copays and my co-insurance and all that other stuff, there's the cost of my time and gas, which is not cheap. And since I'm not driving, my husband has to take time off work to take me. So it's not like it's a small ordeal to go to see a specialist, especially when you need to see a geneticist, and the closest geneticist is about a 3-hour drive. And, I mean, not remotely close to me. But I call anyway. I call every geneticist within, like, a 4-hour drive of my house. One of them I find actually sees patients with Ehlers-Danlos. They have 2. And every last one tells me that there is no genetic test available, which I already knew. One of them, the one that has the 2 Ehlers-Danlos patients, says that they would see me, but they would be unable to provide me with blood test or genetic diagnosis because none exists, and that for the drive and the time it would take me to get there and the cost of the office visit, because they're not in my insurance network, it wouldn't be worth my time or my money, and that I should call my general practitioner and talk to them about it. So yesterday I called my doctor again. I got to talk to their nurse. I left a message. I really don't feel like paying extra copays and extra time my husband has to take off work to take me to the doctor and all this other random crap just to get in there to talk about something that we can talk about on the phone. So I left a message with this nurse yesterday, and I'm waiting for them to call me back. They're usually pretty good. They're used to having rural people, lots of farmers and stuff go see them. So they're pretty used to having to do some consultation stuff on the phone. They're cool with it. I'm cool with it. I really wish they would call me back. So that's where I'm at with this medical nightmare. Spending a small fortune in copays, coinsurances, time, frustration, stress, anxiety, pain, blood tests, stress of my family, my husband needing time off work to help me cope with all this crap, all to end up being told I need to go right back where I started. Let me read to you what I wrote about this. I know something is going on that is not right in my body, and I finally found a hint of what could be triggering a lot of my problems, but no one seems to have the gonads to actually put it in writing and get me the help I need to be able to live my life in any way that doesn't involve tears of pain every single day. Do they even realize how much of an impact it has to my quality of life that every step, every movement, everything causes excruciating pain? It's not normal, and I know it. Why don't they seem to? When I can't get up and walk from this chair to the bathroom without getting tears in my eyes because it hurts so much. I can't sit for too long because it hurts too bad. I can't lay down for too long because my joints supplicate. The bones shift out of the socket. And that's quite painful, especially when you have to put them back yourself over and over and over and over again. My hips come out of joint just because I walk. I need to do more strength training, but I keep gaining weight, and they don't know why I keep gaining weight because I'm eating good. I'm not eating excessively. It's not like I just love food and I need more and more and more. I even had one doctor tell me that they thought that I was caught in a stress loop cycle in my body with stress hormones, and that I was having some type of cortisone overload. But I need to have hormone testing done to confirm that, to find out if that has something to do with the weight gain. And until the weight gain is mitigated somehow, there's only so much you can do for strength training when your joints can't hold your body up. And it's not like I weigh 500 pounds, I'm not huge. Uh, I'm not morbidly obese. I'm not no, I'm not that bad. It's just bad enough that it causes intense pain all the time with everything I have to do. My daily chores that should take like a half an hour throughout the day takes 3 to 4 hours every day. It's just insane. So on top of all of this, some of you know I lost my 10-and-a-half-year-old English Mastiff, Thor. He had, turns out we didn't know for a long time what was going on because he was so healthy. We kept taking him to the vet. We had noticed some behavior things that he usually did when he had an ear infection. So we'd take him and he was checked, no ear infection. We couldn't figure out what was going on. We thought maybe he's getting old and senile. Um, but it turns out he had a brain tumor, and it seems to have triggered either some massive issues in his brain or just triggered a stroke. And we lost him at the end of September. And that was like losing my furry baby boy. Um, we were really close. He wasn't just a dog, he was part of the family. And we loved him and still do like I have never felt for an animal before. Um, and that losing him led me to realize exactly how much he helped me. Just day to day, everything that I did. And I had trained him myself. We got him when he was 6 weeks old, which is young. You usually get a puppy at 8 weeks, but his mom had stopped nursing and she was laying on the puppies. So they had to be separated from mom and weaned early. And so we took him home at 6 weeks. We soaked his food and took him out every 2 hours, and no, took time off work to take care of him, just like a little baby. And he grew really close to the whole family. Everyone loved, even my in-laws loved him. Um, and losing him, my anxiety's a lot worse. My blood pressure's higher. I have a lot more problems with anxiety and with my mobility. It turns out he had worked as a balance assist dog for years without me even registering that that's what it was he was doing. Um, and he was providing me with deep tissue therapy and with anxiety attack relief. And I didn't know that. I talked to a doctor about it, and they agreed that it would be good for me to get a service dog. And that for some of my social anxiety issues, it should be huge. As big as Thor was, if not a little bit bigger. And so what we found this breed of dog that's called the American Molossus, and they are a rebirth of a breed of dog who has been extinct for thousands of years. Um, the original Molossus was a Mesopotamian based breed of dog. There are reliefs, there are statues, there's writings about them, there are paintings. We know what they looked like, we know what their purpose was, we know what kind of temperament they had, and there are a few breeders who are working to bring back that breed of dog through selective breeding of other breeds that are known to have descended from that original breed. So that's actually going pretty good. And the dogs that come out are big. They're like on a large English Mastiff scale, but they have the intelligence and the temperament of an English Mastiff, but they have more genetic diversity. So they're actually much healthier and have a longer life expectancy, um, less problems with hip dysplasia when they get old, which Thor was suffering with that. Um, a lot less problems as they age, a lot less genetic issues that go on. So I'm going to be getting one of those puppies, and I'm going to be training one of those puppies to be a service dog for me. My doctor is preparing to write a letter, the official "you need a service dog" letter, um, and I'll be documenting all of the training. He or she will be named Mjolnir of Asgard in honor of Thordan of Asgard. Mjolnir is the hammer, magical hammer that belonged to Thor. And we think that would be very appropriate. And we're just figuring if it's a female, we might just call her Molly. And still have her named Molnir. But that's where we are. I'm pretty excited about the prospect of getting an American Molossus. And it's going to take a little bit because, my husband just had surgery a week after we lost Thor. My husband had to have surgery on his elbow. So between those vet bills and the surgery and everything else we've been going through, it's tight. It's very tight. Lots of unplanned expenses happened. And we're saving. We're going to be saving up to get our American Molossus, just like we saved up to get Thor. And I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I've been on the phone with 2 breeders who have me very excited about the prospect of getting an American Molossus and how wonderful they're going to be, and how much it's going to help to have another wonderful dog around. It's definitely not going to be a replacement for Thor. No one, nothing could ever replace Thor, but it'll be a good next gen. Looking forward to it. I'll be very happy when it comes to pass. Matt, come. Come here. Yeah. And my son wanted to see you at the end of the video. So here he comes. Hi.
Hello.
My little Shishai wants to come say hi. I love you.
Love you too.
This is my wonderful little boy, Shishai. He's 9. He's very excited that Christmas is coming up. Had a great time on Halloween. And
Got some like candy.
got a whole lot of candy.
Some I couldn't eat.
Right, but we gave away what you couldn't eat, right? And he has a nibbling, chewing thing. And to keep him from chewing the fingers, you want to show him your Munchable? He uses Munchables jewelry. This Munchables, and it has a bear claw on it. And it's pretty darn sturdy to stand up to his chewing.
And we lost a puppy.
Yes, I talked to them about us losing Thor. That was really sad, wasn't it?
We cried a heck ton.
Yep, we cried a heck ton. And we still do sometimes, right?
Well, we are going to get another puppy called Molnir, and one of our favorite creators died as well.
Yes, we were very sad that Stanley passed away. Because we have really loved Stanley throughout our lives, right? But we still have Pogo,
Yes.
the crazy Poggle.
Yes.
And he still makes you smile and laugh.
Yes, he does actually.
Yeah, me too. You want to say bye-bye?
Bye-bye.
I hope you liked this video. If you did, please click the little button to subscribe and the little bell to be notified of all the new videos when they come out. You'll be part of our Bell Brigade, and we would love to have you. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you soon.
Magic trick.
Magic trick.
We get a little trouble. Yeah. Don't make it follow me.
He does this all the time at the end of my videos, and I usually manage to edit it. this is live, so it can't be edited. Where did your necklace go? Oh no. Yay! He has it back. Woo! Okay. You want to tap the button? The little X. Okay.